All right, this is Building Vocabulary Skills, Chapter 13. I'm going to say the words and then you can repeat after me so you can work on your pronunciation. Elaborate, emerge, exotic, frugal, impulsive, indifferent, indulge, liberal, mediocre. Let me try that one again. Mediocre. And finally, notable. All right, the first word is elaborate. In this case, it's an adjective. If you see this word, it could also be a verb and you would say elaborate, but we're going to talk about the adjective, which is totally different. The dinner required elaborate preparation. Each course included a complicated favorite dish of one of the guests. Irma's quilt was very elaborate. She used tiny stitches to sew together hundreds of fabric pieces. And in this picture, it shows an elaborate tile pattern. This means detailed. So often in many of your countries, you might have tile work that's elaborate or something that's painted on ceramics like a bowl. It could be elaborate, or some of your churches or mosques have very elaborate work in them, artwork or glasswork or tile work. So it's little tiny pieces put together and it's very, very detailed. You could talk about a wedding being elaborate and lots of pieces coming together, very fancy, very detailed. All right. The next word is emerge. It's a verb. Anna emerged from the dressing room looking beautiful in a blue prom gown. When the chick emerged from its egg, it was tired and wet, but a day later it was a fluffy yellow ball of energy. It means to come out. So butterflies emerge from a cocoon. We can emerge from a room. You always have from after the word emerge to tell what you're emerging from. All right. So animals can emerge from eggs. You could say he emerged from the water after diving in. Okay, the next word is exotic. It's an adjective. Orchids are grown in the United States, not just in foreign countries, so Americans really should not consider these flowers exotic. The kiwi fruit grown in New Zealand is one of several exotic fruits now commonly sold in supermarkets. This word means foreign. So when I think of exotic foods, I think of foreign foods that I don't typically have a chance to eat. Now, if I said food from your country was exotic, it's not going to be exotic for you because it's something that you eat all the time. All right, so you could have exotic clothing, which is foreign clothing, maybe traditional dress from your clothing would be exotic to me, or exotic food, exotic possibly dances, so meaning dances from a specific country. All right, so it's exotic from your point of view, but if you're in that country, it's not exotic to you. All right, moving on. The next word is frugal. As an adjective, you can stretch your dollars by being frugal. For example, using store coupons and waiting for expensive items to be on sale can save a lot of money. Diane buys designer jeans, but because I need to be more frugal, I buy store brand jeans, which are much cheaper. This word means thrifty. It's a neutral word to mean that you save money. If you said, oh, she's cheap, that's a negative connotation. That's a negative word to mean the same thing, kind of. So you can be frugal, save your money, get stuff on sale, go to stores that have it as a cheaper price, compare prices, buy stuff on the internet, anything where you're saving money, you're being frugal. And it's people that are frugal. All right, the next word is impulsive. It's an adjective. Ved is too impulsive to make plans. He always prefers to act on the spur of the moment. Kids are usually more impulsive than adults. Children will follow sudden urges as the desire to climb a tree, even if they're wearing their best clothes. So impulsive means acting without a plan. So if I wake up and I decide, okay, today I'm going to drive 3 hours to go to the beach, I would think that would be impulsive. If you said this weekend, I want to fly down to Florida, that would be impulsive if you're just a few days out. So anytime you're deciding on the spur of the moment to do something, you're being impulsive. All right, the next word is indifferent. It's an adjective. Does our society have no interest in homeless children? Are we indifferent to the many families who can no longer afford to pay rent? Because her husband was indifferent to how the apartment would be decorated, Kaylin felt free to do the job any way she wanted. This word means unconcerned with. So in the first sentence, indifferent was a negative connotation because it's people that don't care about families or children that are homeless. So if you're indifferent to something that you should care about, then that would be considered a negative meaning. But the second one is he just didn't care about how she decorated the apartment, so that isn't negative. So he was indifferent to what sofa she bought. So didn't care. The next one is indulgent. It's an adjective. Monica's grandparents are too indulgent with her. They don't scold her even when she splatters the walls with baby food. I'm surprised at Robin's self-indulgent attitude. It never occurs to her not to give in to every little thing she desires. So indulgent means giving in. So in most cases, it's one person is indulgent with another person. So it basically means they're spoiling them, so it's a negative connotation. So if the parents are indulgent, they might give their child money every time the child asks, or if the child wants to stay out late, they just say, sure, that's fine. So the intention or the purpose is usually spoiling somebody, or maybe spoiling yourself, as in Robin's self-indulgent attitude. So negative connotation. The next word is liberal. It's an adjective. Being a chocolate lover, Amos puts liberal amounts of chocolate chips in his Toll House cookies. Norma left the waiter a liberal tip because he had been especially friendly and helpful. It means generous. Now, as a side note, you could hear the words liberal and conservative used in politics or used in religion. In this case, it's different. This is just talking about liberal amounts, so generous amounts of something. Liberal amounts of chocolate, that's a non-count noun, chocolate chips. Or you could have liberal tip, liberal donation. So in this case, it's meaning generous. Okay, the last, number 9 is mediocre. It's an adjective. The mystery movie was neither terrible nor great, it was just mediocre. Although Hank can be quite funny, his jokes are only mediocre compared with those of the best comedians. Okay, this word means ordinary, but ordinary is kind of a neutral word. It's not necessarily positive or negative, whereas mediocre is actually a negative connotation. So if you say the food was mediocre, you're pretty much criticizing the food and saying it's not so great. Or if you say the movie was mediocre, you're certainly not going to recommend anybody to see it because you don't think it's that good. So I think it's a little bit more negative than just ordinary. All right, finally, the last word is notable. It's an adjective. Winning the Nobel Prize can make a little-known scientist into a notable world figure. Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address is surely his most notable speech, especially among the many Americans who memorized it in school. This is well known. This is obviously a positive word. So if you say he's a notable government figure or a notable politician, notable actress, as for people, it can also be like a speech is notable, or maybe a song or a poem is notable, a book is notable. So it's a well-known something or other. Okay, that's it for this chapter. Thanks for listening.